So a question people have, some of you may not, but some of you still might. Why are you doing this? Open your doors, let you come in, right? We're a for-profit company. We do not need to let anybody in to see anything. In fact, in our world, there's a notion called IP, intellectual property. What we do well, we try to hide and not show anybody. And if we can, we get lawyers to go and give us patents and anything so we can use it as our competitive advantage. So why do we let people in? And what's in it for NextJump? This academy, our intent is never, ever commercialize it. It's always going to be a giving initiative. And why do we do this? We have two goals in the company. It's a better me goal and a better you goal. And the first one is to become one of the largest companies on this planet. And it is something that's very important to us because we believe more than writing a book, more than writing a research paper, there is no greater megaphone than success. And when you succeed, people want to know how'd you do it. But the other goal of changing the world by changing workplace culture, I know that sounds generic, but this is something we have put a lot of strategic thinking into it. We put our business hats on. We looked at all the problems in the world and we looked at the people working day and night, giving up everything to fix these problems. They lack the capital. They didn't have a lot of money. They lack the people resources. They lack the technology. So putting our business hats on, we said, where does that exist? Where is the most capital, the most technology, and the greatest talent pool in the world? And they actually sit in Fortune 1000 companies. And in fact, the Navy is fascinating. I mentioned to you the 1950s, the military influenced all the companies, how they run globally. Well, I believe the military will do it again. And I believe the Navy is where it's going to start. The Navy is simply a stepping stone for us to get to the Fortune 1000 because they're the ones that are sitting on all the money, all the technology, all the people. And if they move an eighth of an inch, they will fix every problem in the world 10 times over. They're the cavalry that's not coming to the battle. So this is what we saw. And this is why we made it our mission to go change them. Not to lecture at them, finger wag at them, feel guilty or shame, to go into their club and lead from the inside out. Now, some of you, if you don't have kids, you might have seen this movie. Pixar made a movie called Inside Out. It's all around emotions. And there was a recent article in the New York Times about emotions and the science of emotions. And it was talking about the experts, the doctors, the psychologists who advised the team creating the movie. And there was a piece of it. This is a recent New York Times article. You can pull it up and read it. That was very insightful. It was talking about the emotion of anger. That anger is the emotion that gives us the courage to act, to do something, even though it might not be popular, we might be scared to do it. Yet anger can also have negative actions, which I'm sure we've all faced at some point. But the anger they talked about that was actually the most powerful was the anger tied to injustice. When we feel injustice, we act. We act against all odds and we come out with courage. And this is something that resonated for me. It's resonated, I think, for every NextJumper here. The greatest injustice that I've seen, and I'll tell you more of why it's such a big injustice, was these companies with all the money and all the power, all the people and technology not doing their fair share. Them sitting back. And the only time, by the way, Goldman, not the only time, but in 2009, 2008, when Goldman got the worst PR labeling for what they did to basically ruin lives everywhere, they created this $500 million fund to then support women and small businesses. Amazon now is creating a $100 million fund to help schools. Google did something similar. Facebook, the PR, a negative PR event is the time they give. It's for the wrong reasons. And they do it only when people say you're bad. And so they use giving as a PR tool to try to get image to be better. There's such an injustice of what they should be doing. And so you may have seen this on our walls. To do the little things that allow others to do the great things they're meant to do. The reason we created Better Me, Better You was, this was a mouthful, hard to remember, but I want to help you understand where and what it actually means. Something is little for me only because I have a lot of it. If my cup is full and it overflows, it's little. Whether it's money, whether it's knowledge, whether it's people, technology, it's only little to me if I can fill my cup up. But for the purpose of helping others, not next jumpers, but others out there, but we emphasize the great things they're meant to do, we are very selective because we know it's not just about throwing it away. And when you get this equation right, we find us is not next jump, it's the world. And this is how that same phrase, it was easier for everyone to remember better me plus better you equals better us. The most common mistake people do is they flip it. The better you equals better plus better me equals better us. No, it's deliberately set up. The oxygen mask theory. You mask yourself, then you help somebody else. You're like, I don't mask my child first. No, you have to help yourself first. Then you have the ability to spill over onto others as opposed to scraping an empty cup. And that's what makes the world better. There was a South American CEO who said something profound. He said, I don't believe in giving back. It's like, what? I don't believe in giving back. If you're giving back, you took too much. I believe in giving as you go. And I've met billionaires who tell me the reason I don't give back a lot is because I don't have a lot of experience and I don't know how. And God, it infuriates me. How dare you actually even utter those words, and how could you have gone to this place not having given back sooner? So start now. The whole plant the tree ASAP. This was a phrase that I found very powerful, that you can do more good if you're profitable and make more profit because you're good. I think someone asked me, one of my worries, right? Like what do I worry about? You know, the biggest worry I have is that I'm going to turn out to be exactly like my dad. That every aspect of what he did and what he wasn't able to do will play out for me the same way. My parents both are in the nonprofit side, in the sense of my dad's goal to end world hunger, my mom being a pastor of a church, everything was about doing more good. They took the shirt off their backs. We get sick in the process. I tell them I'm sending them money. They give money away before it even hits their bank account. This is the way I grew up. But most companies I see do this. The Fortune 1000, they're in a rat race to see who can now pass the $1 trillion valuation mark. And then there's going to be the $2 trillion valuation mark. And they're in a mad rush to make more profit. At some point, money they could not spend lifetimes over, but simply for the reason that they're competing against each other. And the connection of these equations, the part that it took me forever to learn, is that sequence matters. Sequence matters in that I thought this is what came first. Go help others find something that you're purposeful, that you're so excited about, my passion, my purpose, and go do that, and then the rest will follow. In the history of this company, we raised money 8 times. 6 of them, I put the company at the brink of bankruptcy, 2 weeks out of bankruptcy. And then there are many more times I came so close to ruining the company with the interest of doing good. The person that changed my life for that was Megan. She showed me and taught me this comes first. Because if you don't better me, you cannot better you. When you give what you don't have, it is reckless, it is irresponsible. And you can hurt people in the long run. And it is something it took me forever to realize how dumb I was to think that you can do that without thinking about this. And I made this mistake over and over. This is the story of my dad. So he is the top corn scientist in the world. He's been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize 5 times. His life goal and mission has been to end world hunger. I carry a coin in my pocket every day for as long as I can remember. It's a fake Nobel Prize coin, and it's not because I believe he will win it one day. Sorry, it's somewhere buried between the microphone. It's a handmade version of the Nobel Peace Prize. It reminds me that he will never win this. And when I feel scared and I don't find the courage, I can literally put my hand in my pocket and feel this coin. And it drives my anger of how he's been treated and what people did. So to give you a sense, I'm the oldest of 3 kids. And I grew up in Nigeria and West Africa, 17 years. That's been home more than any other place. And I was a carbon copy of my father growing up. My father still has a stutter. Presentation skills is the worst thing in the world. He talks too fast. And I was a carbon copy growing up. Greg knows me from high school. And he knows the exact me that had the stutter, talk too fast. And nobody would listen to a presentation I ever gave. I remember this so vividly. So if you have a research parent, they write a lot of white papers, just cranking out. And his English and grammar was always off. I mean, it's painful stuff. But being the oldest kid, when I would come home so I was on boarding school, all in financial aid, I would come home and he would give me 800 pages. I need you to correct this grammar, right? I'm trying to end world hunger, but my writing isn't good. There's all kinds of grammatical errors. I need you to read through. So vivid memory I have is 14 years old. This was December 24th, Christmas Eve, coming from spring break, or not Christmas break. I'm sitting in his office 5 a.m. correcting the 800 pages. And on his desk is a 1-page article that I pick up, and it talks about how Dr. Kim is one of the greatest scientists the world's ever known. And that he has made discoveries that will end world hunger. But if you keep reading at the bottom, it says, but he will never succeed because he cannot present his work. I watch people try to take advantage of this all the time. There were people who were better in just English and literature who said, I want to win the Nobel Prize with you if I help you edit it. 30 years of research, I want half the credit because you can't win it without me. And he always said no. And the hardest part I watch is people with money and power. I mean, it would take nothing. It would be so little. And as the oldest son, I watched them take advantage of it. And it was nothing. They would make him jump hoops. They would make him do everything unimaginable and then still say no. And I couldn't comprehend how it was. I would see them spend the money on stupid stuff, on dinners and events and cars and whatnot, and just wouldn't help. And it was tough where when I was 14, 10 years go by, I built NextJump. And as I was building the company, I pitched a lot of investors. I remember the day I walked into the office, I was 24, where I raised a lot of money, and out of sheer practice, my stutter went away. It was never my intent. I was the carbon copy, couldn't present like my dad, and somehow through sheer like 10,000 hours type practice, it disappears, and I have this spiritual moment, which is, I'm not meant to do this. I'm the yin and yang to go and help edit and get my dad's Nobel Prize. I mean, build a tech company, go end world hunger. I mean, it's not even a close comparison. I try to leave, but 9/11 hits. We go from 150 employees down to 4, and my own baby is dying. And I don't know what to do, and I don't leave. And before you know it, 10 more years goes by. And my father used to always say, the reason I want the Nobel Prize is that it is an amplifier. It would amplify what I discovered, and it would end world hunger because that's what it provides. It's an amplifier, and that's why I want the Nobel Prize. I turned 34. I get a call my father had a stroke. And you know how when you meet someone at the oddest of times and how it hits you? That same month, I meet this billionaire who told me the most profound thing for that moment. He said, I only buy art from living artists. I believe in putting fuel behind those who can do something with it. And that was the same time I saw my dad with a stroke. He's still alive, but something changed. His levels of energy changed. His ability to do and fight what he could just wasn't there anymore. And that day, it made me think the Nobel Prize is not an amplifier for him. If he wins it, it would simply be a trophy on our mantle. That's all it would be. Over the years, I used to have on my wall, still up on my wall actually, complete the mission as in continue my dad's lifelong work, end world hunger, world poverty was sort of about the mission I saw that I was built to do. Then I changed it to identify and empower individuals with the drive and aptitude to solve world problems, find people like my dad and help them. Empower and help the world's best accomplish their missions. And then I met a guy in 2011 by the name of Simon Sinek, and we hit it off. And he said, hearing the story, he's like, Charlie, what you're saying you're trying to do is do the little things that allow others the great things they're meant to do. But I think even Simon, it took me even much later after that to realize you can't do those things until you fill your cup. And that's where Megan comes in for me.